According to a new poll, most Americans believe the greatest threat to the United States are homegrown terrorists. The poll compared them with radicalized foreign visitors and terrorists hiding among Syrian refugees.
CBS News senior security contributor Michael Morell is here. Thank you so much for stopping by.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
So we now know that Farouk was in contact with people overseas and here with ties to terrorism. So are we closer to calling this terrorism?
I think he and his wife were clearly radicalized. Not clear to me whether it was by ISIS or by al-Qaeda. Absolutely clear to me that they were planning attacks, maybe one big attack, maybe a series of attacks. Not clear to me whether this particular attack was terrorism. What determines whether it was terrorism or not was the motivation. So did they do this because they wanted to make a statement about ISIS or al-Qaeda in the United States, or did they do this because they were angry at their coworkers? I think when the dust clears here, that we may find out that they were planning one big attack someplace else, or a series of attacks someplace else, and their anger at this party drove them to attack this particular place. That, as odd as it sounds, would make them terrorists, but not this particular event terrorism, as odd as that sounds.
You know, if it turns out that this was a terrorist attack, what difference does it make if it was ISIS or al-Qaeda?
It does make a difference in my mind, because if it was al-Qaeda, it would remind us that it's not just ISIS that we need to worry about, but it's also al-Qaeda. One of the things that's happened over the last year, as we've all been focused on ISIS, properly so, is that al-Qaeda has been rebounding. It's been rebounding significantly in Yemen, and we are seeing the beginnings of a rebirth of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan.
We keep hearing, our David Begnaud did an interview with Farouk's family members, and they said, we knew nothing. He also talked to a coworker who sat next to him for 5 years, and it wasn't until he came back from Saudi Arabia that he noticed something was different. I think it's so hard for people to wrap their head around that they had a little baby at home. What do you make of all that? Not hearing anything, not knowing anything?
When you are radicalized and you're in conversation with either ISIS or al-Qaeda, they are very clear to you. Don't talk to anybody about how you're feeling. Don't talk to anybody about what you believe, right? It's very important to keep all of this secret. So they're reminded of that over and over and over again.
I want to go back to something you said a moment ago about al-Qaeda's resurgence, including Afghanistan. Well, you know, Pakistan, the neighbor there, his wife was from there, you know.
And he traveled there.
Right. So what does that potentially tell you? What would you be concerned about, given all of those factors combined, the resurgence of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the fact that he went to Pakistan, all of it?
So what it says to me is that when you go to Saudi Arabia and you're radicalized, it might be ISIS or al-Qaeda, either possibility. When you go to Pakistan and you're radicalized, that's al-Qaeda territory. That's not ISIS. So it gets back to the issue of who radicalized him here. And the fact that he went to Pakistan, maybe even had some training there, we need to figure that out. Right? I mean, what they did was pretty sophisticated in terms of their military capability, right? So maybe he even had some training there. That would suggest to me al-Qaeda more than ISIS.
When you look at his wife, Malik, and she passed the screening to come over here on the fiancé visa, what does that say about our intelligence? Did they miss something, or did it happen when she got here?
Don't know. It could be either, right? The way that you get flagged as being a terrorist, right, is by your connections. Are you connected with people, right? And if you don't see those connections, then you're not going to get flagged, even if you're radicalized. Most of the time, the radicalization happens here. We're going to have to find out in this case.
So how worried should Americans be then, knowing that she made it over here and she was passed and then it happened? I mean, how many more could they be missing?
Right. So the poll that we talked about, right, coming into this segment, I think Americans have it exactly right. The greatest risk, right, is from lone wolf terrorists who have been radicalized. There's a risk, and there's a growing risk, but still smaller, of ISIS or al-Qaeda directing an attack here. So Americans have it just right.
I want to take a step back for a moment, because the administration, a senior Obama administration official, has said that they are removing a mid-level ISIS leader every 2 days from the battlefield. Right. What do you make of that?
So they said mid and high level, right, every 2 days. That doesn't sound right to me. That does not sound right to me. I'm skeptical of that.
Why?
Sounds to me like they're trying to make it look like we're significantly degrading the ISIS leadership. I don't believe that. They want to make it. They want to make it look like we're doing better here, right? Why am I skeptical? If you look at senior leaders, when they take out a senior leader, we know about it, right? So how many senior leaders have been taken off the battlefield in the last 6 months? 1, 2, 3, right? And then the second issue is, how do you count mid-level, right? How do you know somebody is mid-level? When you bomb an ISIS command center near the front lines and you kill 10 guys, are you counting them all as mid-level leaders? Maybe they are counting that. I wouldn't count that.
So you believe the Obama administration is not being truthful about its success against ISIS on the battlefield?
You know, maybe the numbers are right, particularly if 99% of these are mid-level, right? Maybe the numbers are right, but the implication that we're significantly degrading the leadership is not correct in my view.
All right, before we let you go, do you think we'll see a co-conspirator connected to this recent mass shooting?
I think that is the near-term question the FBI has to look at, right? Because if there are co-conspirators, it means that there's dangerous people out there. So that's job number one for the FBI.
All right.
Mike Morell, thank you so much.
Great to be with you.